Well, good morning, everybody. How are you? So, I want to tell you a story. Last night, I was at a church with a friend, and the pastor was talking about how, when he was 9 years old, his dad sat him and his two siblings down to tell them that he was leaving. And that event traumatized this 9-year-old boy. He then got into drugs, and at 18, he tried to commit suicide. And later in life, God got a hold of this young boy, this now preacher, this pastor. But listening to that story triggered in me something that God's been dealing with me the last, certainly the last 5 years, but even recently, once again, in a deeper way. When I was 12, I basically lost my father. Even though he was alive till maybe 20 years after that, I was away from him since age 12, and it didn't cause me to get into drugs or into any sort of suicidal thoughts, but it came out in fear, in anxiety, in insecurity. And then in my 20s is when I began to experience panic attacks, and through many help and many therapists and a ton of work and the support of my wife, my family, and of course the help of God, I was able to find the grace through my anxiety and to once again find my voice and to be able to now have a more centered life. But recently, even actually this last year, I've been feeling that there is something still out there for me to pursue. There's a greater power that God wants me to reach for. And even last month, it was confirmed when a good friend of mine, a mentor, he challenged me and he said, Trig, you are not living in the spirit, you're living in the flesh. And at first I thought, what are you talking about? I'm not doing anything wrong. And that's not what he meant. He was touching, without him knowing, on this very issue of learning to find my true power, that inner strength that God wants me and you to have. And for me, I know it deals with understanding more about my Father and going deeper, even though I've dealt with this many times. And as I said, I've worked on this for many years. I know that God wants to go deeper with me in this. And He wants me to know that He is my Abba Father even more. And so, one last thing, ironically, last year, 2015, my number one prayer from the beginning all the way to December of last year was, God, give me more power. And guess what happened? God let me basically do things on my own. And wow, did I fall flat on my face. Basically nothing worked. God was telling me, okay, you want to try it on your own? Go ahead and see what happens. And so now as I began 2016 with last night and just other things that have been happening lately, I know that God wants me to go deeper with Him, to work through a little bit more of my dad's loss, and to most of all, to receive God even more deeply into my life as my Father, as my heavenly Abba, who affirms me, to whom I can give all of my fears and insecurities and anxieties and any of those things. And so through that, I know that God's power will really be manifested in me, which is what I think all of us want. I know that you might relate to my story. You might have that trauma that in many ways is keeping you from that powerful gear. You have church, you have activity, you have work, you have success, you have a lot of things that you're doing that are going for you, but you're lacking that power. You're living in the flesh. You're working out of your fleshly skills that even though they might take you far, you know it's not the power that you want. And so this is the journey that I'm on, and I invite you. And so just as a way for me and you to work together, today at noon, I'm going to be doing a talk online at Life of Ghosts, so Renew Your Power, just to share with you the things that I'm learning, what I've done in the past to recover, to grow, to find my strength. The moments where I feel like I have been in the flesh and relied on my own skills. And then lastly, what I'm doing now to find that greater place of spiritual strength. And hopefully we can do that together. So today at 12 noon Pacific time, I want you to join me. Go online to lifeofgoso.com, renew your power, sign up. And if you miss it, if you can't be online at 12 noon Pacific, the recording will be on the website for 24 hours, so you can watch that anytime that you want. Thanks so much. And I'm excited. I am fearfully excited for what God wants to do in my life, and I know in yours as well in 2016. Thanks so much for watching.